Welcome everybody. Another cute session, champions using teams effectively, and we're here to just talk about teams. As always, this is an office hours. Ask me anything, ask us anything once Stacy joins us, and we can talk about it. And I don't know if anybody's got something on their mind, feel free to come off mute or put it in the chat. And as doing all that, I'm just getting my demo environment ready in case I need to show some things here as well. In fact, I will put that up on the screen. Where am I? So many windows. There we go. So, all right, there we go. Cool. So, any particular questions from anybody this fine Friday?
Hi, good morning, everybody. I kind of a one-note wonder on this issue. We're extremely interested in Teams webinars. My understanding is that it's due to be rolled out at the end of this month. I think they keep putting it off month after month for various reasons. But the reason that I'm kind of harping on this issue is we conduct webinars, safety webinars, several every day of the week, and we're currently using Constant Contact to advertise our events, and then WebEx as the actual webinar platform. And then we have people replying to the invitations to confirm who all was in attendance. So we basically have 3 data sets that we then have to collate to come up with an attendance figure. It's very time consuming and has to be done like one at a time. And my understanding from the advertisements about what Teams webinars can do is it coordinates that whole registration, advertisement, attendance process, but I've never seen any of the like the reports that are generated and exactly what that looks like. And I know that it's been used, I guess, for commercial folks, but not for government, which is what we are. So I'm just curious, have you heard from people who are using it, how they like it, if it works as expected? Have you ever seen any of the kind of reports that it generates? Because as I said, we're extremely interested because I don't believe we're going to be able to keep purchasing WebEx and Constant Contact for those purposes. So.
Yeah, and I have a commercial tenant here. We can try it out. I haven't heard any issues on the commercial side, but my customers are government. The one thing I thought about though when you said that is, I mean, you're right. Like you've got these separate areas for doing these things now. The WebEx part of what you're doing. I mean, the webinar piece is a Microsoft Teams meeting plus some registration capabilities, right? And so you could certainly be using Teams for the meeting, and while you wait for the registration, feature, continue to, handle the registration as you've been doing. But I didn't know if you were today, if those 3 things you mentioned were tightly coupled, the constant contact, the WebEx, and the your whatever registration piece you're doing, are they tied together? Because it feels like until you get the registration piece, you could insert some of the other things that you do have today while you wait. Does that make sense?
Yes, the reason we use Constant Contact is because it generates a calendar that we then post on our website where people from all over the world actually can register for our webinars. Okay. My understanding is that with Teams webinars, you create the event with your team, who's the production crew, or I'm not sure exactly what the correct verbiage is for that. But then Teams webinars asks you or provides you the opportunity to create an invitation then to send to other people, and you connect that with, I think it's bookings or something similar to that, that can be used as your website, openly available registration platform, so that it's all kind of connected through Microsoft Office applications in that way.
Yeah. And hopefully you're seeing my screen now. I mean,
Yes.
just as you're talking, yes, that, I think you're spot on. Um, so it's, yeah, certainly helping, because what I was also trying to get to was whether or not this was just about, figuring out who attended, but it sounds like you are looking for the full package. And when webinars gets here, it's basically giving you everything.
Well, hopefully, if
Yeah.
it does what it says it's going to do, actually 5 years ago, they first came to us and told us they were moving to Teams, and we told them then at that time we would need something similar to what Teams Webinars is promising to do, because at the time a regular Teams meeting wouldn't have worked. I mean, we have hundreds of people that attend our webinars, and so we're very anxious to see if this will actually work. And I would have loved to have seen what it actually looks like from the coordinator's point of view, the person creating the events and stuff, but they're making us wait.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to show here in this commercial tenant. So I'm just like on the fly, just kind of making a webinar here, added a presenter. We've got this set that attendees must register, so I can look at the registration form here. So that's what someone's going to do to register for the event. If I look at it in the browser, oops, so that's what the person would see. So if let's make that bigger. So if I'm just a person, and right, I'm going to register. Great, see you at the event. Probably should have put a better email so I could actually see what the email looks like. So we got a registration. This is just, I can get a copy of the registration link, but this was just showing me what that looks like. So my event's there. Here's my, this may be what you are really looking for here. What does this meeting registration report look like? Is this kind of the secret sauce you were hoping to see?
I guess, can that registration template be added to, do you know? Can that be adjusted? Can we
Like
ask other
modified?
questions? Yeah, modified, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it looks like there's some ability. If I hit edit here, I've got a image I can upload. Kind of images do I have? Of course, nothing. Let's see,
Sorry for my tardy arrival, Ricardo, but I'm here.
No
I can
problem.
help anyway.
Yeah, we are talking about the webinar feature that we know we're waiting for GCC, but
Yeah.
I'm in the commercial tenant, kind of showing what it looks like to see if all the hype will meet Barbara's expectations once it hits. So yeah, so from a customization of the registration form, I could do a little background image here. I don't have a great one. Tell them which speakers are going to be there. In this case, I think I was adding Deborah and maybe a bio there. See.
Oh, I see. You can add fields to the register. You can request more information from them. Excellent.
Right.
Excellent. Perfect.
Yeah.
And a custom question. Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel so much better already.
Yay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I do too. I can't wait.
Yeah. If we save that and then take a look at what the end user sees, there's the speaker, there's the extra additional required question. Yeah. And so then so we did see also that, that info, is in the registration info, who's coming. or who's registered. Let's see, meeting options I think should be the same as a typical Teams meeting. Think there's anything new here specific to, oh yeah, I'm just the wrong browser. Where am I?
Hey, Jim, I'm going to throw a link to the roadmap in the chat. I'll filter it down to show the webinar thing, but I want to also send you guys that link because the roadmap has been updated. It looks and functions a little bit differently, and I happen to love it. I think it's much more easy to find what you're looking for.
I will say I just mentioned I didn't think web meeting options would be different for webinar. It actually is a little different in that, people I invite is there in the lobby option, and they've already preset some things, which doesn't happen in a typical webinar. So it knows to make everybody an attendee, except for the speaker. And so it's got some webinar specific stuff in there.
Excellent.
Let's see here. And what is that? Okay, I think this is actually trying to start up the meeting. But is that, so is that giving you, does it seem like that's giving you what you were looking for?
Yes. I guess the piece that I'm not quite certain of, and I guess I don't know if you can help me with, but when the event is created, how, I guess I'm trying to figure out how do I get that onto our website for people to register, I guess. My understanding was it hooked with an app such as Bookings or something along those lines. So it made a nice calendar where people could pick and choose what they, wanted to sign up for. Because as I mentioned, we host at 13 to 15 webinars a week. And I guess last year we trained over 48,000 people. So it's a big group of folks that we reach.
Yeah.
And
Stacy, have you heard of that this kind of ties into Bookings or some kind of
No, I haven't. I think you're really talking about two separate features, at least in my understanding. Webinar is going to give you a nice registration link. I think Ricardo's displaying that now. So you could list on a web page those links with the topics that are being covered. Folks click the one they want, they hit this registration page, they fill it out, and they get all the confirmations via email and all of that. Bookings will give you a slightly different, actually it'll be quite different, because you would put your occasions, your events out there, and then folks would pick ones that worked in their schedule and register that way. I think, do you cap participation in your webinars? Do you have a threshold that you?
Yes, generally speaking, we have basic safety webinars, and then we also have specialized webinars for one of our programs. And as a matter of fact, we just had a workplace safety committee webinar last week that was originally capped at 650 people, and we ended up raising the limit so that 850 people attended. And we've had over 1,000 people at some of our webinars during the height of the pandemic.
Okay. I was just looking to see.
And the webinar, correct me if I'm wrong, Stacey, but the webinar feature is tied to a normal Teams meeting, which means you're going to have that 1,000 cap. I don't think there's a way to make webinar related to live events, which would give you much more caps. You're aware of that.
We don't want to do live events. That's much more complicated than I think what we would actually need. So.
Okay.
I was playing with Bookings this week for a similar, let me get my eyes focused on this here. I was playing with Bookings this week, Ricardo, and everyone on the call, just to see how I could arrange like a series of training sessions. and
Yes.
have all of those training sessions be made available via a bookings calendar, regardless of which of my trainer staff was going to teach them. And have folks be able to see all of the trainings that were available and select from those. And what you do in bookings is make a different service for each type of training, and then govern when you're offering it through the schedule that you can make for each staff member. It gets really complicated, but it can be done. And you can set in bookings the number of any attendees that might register for the same booking. And if you wanted to, say, cap sessions at 50 or 100 or 500, you can define that in the service or the training session in bookings. So I was doing some testing with that, and I got pretty good results. I will say it is something that you have to throttle very carefully with your staff and their work times to jive with when they're going to be teaching, because the work hours inform bookings when they're available. So you would want to tailor that in bookings for each of your staff members to show only the times that they're going to teach any given service or session.
Generally we set up our schedule, our training schedule first, so we know exactly who's planning on teaching what, when. We do that first, and then we create the events. It's basically how we do that. So we know for certain that they'll be available.
Right. Well, I think there's two valid approaches. I think the webinar, when you get that, is going to be the easier button for you to push month after month after month to organize and deliver your sessions, because bookings is going to be so tied to your trainer staff's Outlook calendars.
Okay.
That you will want to, I think it will take more care and feeding to do it from the booking side. I think there's potential for it to work for you, especially in the interim while you wait for webinars. But my initial reaction to what you're saying and how you plan things out and deliver them is that webinar is going to solve a lot of that.
So then, okay, so if we set bookings aside as the way to advertise our events and the ability to register for them online, when you create a Teams webinar, how do we advertise that then and make that available for folks to register? What does that look like on the website or however that happens?
Wouldn't that just be the registration link here?
The registration link. So we would put we would just put that on our website. Here's our trainings for the next quarter. And then each of those links on our website would be a live link to the registration page. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could take that link and put it anywhere where you're advertising these sessions.
Excellent. Actually, we already do that via bulk email once a month. So I guess we could just update that monthly or quarterly on our webpage. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that link can go anywhere any other links can go. So you could absolutely put them in your quarterly emails. You could put it on your public facing website. You could put it on your internal intranet. You
Excellent.
could send it via chat in Teams.
Yeah, I'm mostly worried about I guess at this point it sounds like the webinar itself, and now that you showed me what the registration form can be amended and modified, and you showed me what the spreadsheet looks like. That's perfect, and it sounds like that will be able to easily mesh with the attendance report from a meeting. So that's important to match those two things up, because many times people register for events, but then don't attend. And for regulatory purposes, for some of our events, we do have to confirm that they actually did attend. So that's important to match those two data sets up. But the most important part now, it seems to me, is figuring out what the website then will look like that will be available to our stakeholders for them to register. So I guess we'll have to concentrate on that part.
Yeah, and there's, I guess, what the function will absolutely be there just by pasting a link to any webinar registration links you create. And the site that you put it on, are you guys a SharePoint house? Do you use SharePoint for your website, or are you using some other third party? I mean, it really doesn't matter.
Well, this is the I work with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and this would be our Commonwealth website for our Health and Safety Division, where we house currently our constant contact calendar of training calendar for people to register.
Okay.
So it would replace that.
Right on. Ricardo's just busy putting stuff in channels and making it look good.
There you go.
He's just rocking and rolling there.
Yeah. And then of course this could be a, you know, a left rel link to that same thing, right? I mean, in this case, this old link here is goes to the company intranet, which something's going wrong there, but this could be that same webinar page. So they could be one click away from getting to the page where those webinars are.
Right.
Right. Yeah, Stacy, I don't think you were here earlier, but I mentioned that we have people from all over the world actually who attend our webinars because they're open to the public. So
cool.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Yeah, and I like Jim's suggestion in the chat. Definitely using a calendar web part and creating those events right there and adding the registration certainly would be another way to go about it.
An external facing SharePoint site. I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, I think what Jim's saying is if you're already using SharePoint, which you know is part of your subscription with Microsoft, and you have a external facing SharePoint site, which is certainly possible, you just have to scope it to be available to the public. You could use a calendar web part on a site like that, like you would any other website that's public facing. SharePoint just happens to have the built-in calendar function, so I think that's what he's alluding to.
I see.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's a hyperlink that can really go anywhere.
Right. So yeah, as of right now, and it is October 15th, but our GA for webinars is this month. That has not changed. It was last modified at the end of September, and it's holding strong for this month. So we can certainly give you an update in a week if we haven't seen it arrive yet.
Okay, excellent. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate that information, the demos, and the good tips. So thank you all.
Yeah, our pleasure.
All right.
You had up the roadmap there a second ago. I was just going to point out how it's changed quite a bit. You now have all of your filters at the top of the roadmap, which I happen to love. I think that gives us a lot of real estate across to see all those features with their explanations when you click on them. And yeah, the cloud instance one is important because you can filter by GCC, you can filter by government and see the announcements and the roadmap plans just for the government cloud. So if you haven't visited, check it out, and that link is available to you in the chat right now.
Any other 2 to 3 minute questions?
Well, I put in there spaces in SharePoint because I went to go create a page last night, couldn't find the link for that, but found spaces instead, and my head's still kind of spinning. Didn't know that was even in the realm of possibility.
That's the VR stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I saw that announcement come across, Jim, and I thought of you immediately, because I think that the first time I met you, we talked about spaces, and it was like, well, I'm not sure about that in the government cloud. And here we are.
Yeah, let me switch over to
I don't know if there's kind of a guide on how to use that yet, if something like that's available, but if you had a link to that, that would be helpful, because I was just playing last night and it's pretty intuitive, but the look I'm getting as somebody clicking on the link and looking at the page is different than what I saw last night as the creator of it. It doesn't have quite as much perspective as I was seeing last night, so I was not sure how to accommodate that.
Yeah, it's going to take me a little research to catch up to you, probably, because it's just been, I've been so Teams focused. I haven't gotten to play with the latest and greatest SharePoint toys. So let me do a little research and see what I can find as far as references go that will help both of us get up to speed and understand use cases for it and how we can capitalize on it now being available.
And how much of that can be integrated into a Teams environment, as a tab or something of that nature.
Yeah, that's really exciting, and I can understand why your head is spinning, because mine is too. I get really excited about this stuff, but then I wonder, okay, so let me get some real world applicability, and let's see how we can take it and utilize it fully.
Right. The web part that Ricardo just clicked on, it pulls from the Office 365 org feature. But what I noticed in the live version of that is that you can't click on it and zoom in the way that you would be able to a file.
meaning, so I created it, but meaning when someone else goes to look at it, looks different.
It was, and I don't know, maybe there was a setting that I missed, but so what I did, my use case was, we have an event coming up that had a number of different handouts. So I put the handouts as files in each of those things, arranged them on a podium so people could actually navigate to the one they want, click on it, and then it kind of zooms in and pops up as a window. I was expecting the same thing for the org chart, but it didn't give me that capability, because I had put the person and then it had the people that reported to them. So it gave a little bit of context to it. So obviously, you can't see what the contact information is, or I'm kind of squinting to see that. But
this is one of those features where you got to go to your calendar and play with spaces for like 2 hours and then have at it. That's the only way this gets done.
Yeah, I think you're
10
right.
o'clock last night, I didn't have that luxury. So
Awesome. Well, good talk. Yeah, we'll keep kicking the tires next week and try to keep everybody up to date on where webinars are and any other roadmap features. But yeah, good talk there.
Yeah, thanks as always, Ricardo.
Yeah. So hope that was helpful. You guys have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week.